And remember, I will sit here until I find out all the good things that are going on in your life
Mhm.
or business or whatever.
Do it on a
Sure.
personal note. Everyone was so kind to me last week with my adjustment this weekend with getting my youngest off to college. So everyone was really, it's been really special and really nice and giving a little
I hope they're
extra.
kind to you though all the time. Are they?
For sure.
Not, Melanie's gonna take care of
Everyone's
it.
always kind, but they, yeah, they just made a little extra note to check in on me and see how everything was going, and it was great. So.
Good. Good. What else?
I've made.
I was like, there's something like shining from this area of the room.
I've been working my Katusha and I've made 90 contacts since Thursday.
Yes.
I've uncovered 3 leads. I've had 2 meetings with people and actually someone who said to me, I wasn't actually thinking of moving, but if you ever found me something that looked like this, I could be course. Then she starts.
So you've been
sending me
thinking about
pictures,
moving.
right? Pictures of what it would look like. So, I mean, it's just all the good conversations, all the things you uncover along the way and, you know.
Awesome.
That's great.
Super awesome. What else? What else is good? Hockey season starts in October.
Right there with you on that one.
What else though?
Yeah. We had a new team member join us last week. Her name is Marina, so you'll see her around here. And she started our launch program this week. So she already got on the phones and started dialing and is just jumping right in. So
Good job.
Awesome.
yeah.
Awesome. Awesome.
And then we also, our Purchase in the Park event is coming up at the end of September. It's a huge event for us. And we only have like 20 slots left. We have close to over 300 people coming, 9 photographers, 2 food trucks. So we had one dedicated day that we called all of our past clients and we filled like 80% of the slots just on that day. So
So cool.
That's
it was a good day.
Super cool.
And you have enough photographers now.
We're getting there. We might need to.
Your brains are like, that's a lot.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. What else?
I had a lot of great support in this office for my listing that went on Friday and just like a lot of good advice and,
That pending now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
thank you to everyone for everything.
I always think it's really exciting in the text message that I got from you. Can we do this amount of money over trust funds? And I was like, that's a lot of trust fund money. Awesome. 2 more things.
I'll look at Phil, the leadership team, for holding it down while I was gone last week. Very nice to be gone and not have to worry about doing things
I
like
don't know if you held it down. You were so mad.
that.
Kevin sat in your spot for a while.
It's not the same. Kevin, I love you, but it's not the same.
That was the most heard comment of, oh, wow, you can't fill her shoes, or, oh, wow, you don't look like Lydia, or, oh, wow, when does Lydia get back? Or,
I am enough, all right? What else? What else is good?
This isn't in here. I mean, he's here, but he's not in here. I think he's on the phone. But we had our major like turnover for all of our college tenant rentals this last weekend, and I don't know what I would do without him. He is just amazing in every single way. So he deserves so many high fives.
Awesome. Awesome, awesome. All right. What's up next? Oh, our calendar, right?
Yeah.
All right, so we have some trainings that are happening. So we have the listing and buyer presentation. This is actually, if you don't have a listing or a buyer presentation, this is going to be more of a workshop, kind of. They're showing other people's actual presentation, and then they're going through how you can rebuild that, I believe, in Command. So again, I know a lot of people are like, I don't know what to do when I go to a buyer appointment. I don't know what to do when I go to a listing appointment. These are going to be live, like the actual presentations that people in the 5 market centers use to go on both of those appointments. We have the open house panel deep dive. We have winning offers panel, mega agent interview, which is going to be super fun. Our normal block party and R&R. Leadership Academy, and then the Wealth Building Committee as well. And then again, whenever you're going to any of these, you can go to the calendar, you can click on it, and you can go right to the Eventbrite. Some of them, I don't know the details, which ones are virtual and which ones I think this one you need to be in person. Is that correct?
I don't remember either.
I think it is.
I think it's in person
it's in
only because
person.
they want you to bring your computer and actually do the items with and kind of work through, which is gonna be more difficult via Zoom. And honestly, it will be difficult for you via Zoom anyways, because you're gonna have to.
Which one is that? The one
Tomorrow.
Thursday?
Yep, the one tomorrow.
And
Yep,
that's in Edina.
is that in
I
Edina?
thought it was
It
late.
was late.
It's late.
Minneapolis?
Parking is challenging.
Sorry. The thing is when the parking is challenging, they do have like a validation there. So if you have questions, you go down, kind of walk around, you know, take a little jaunt outside and you're good to go. Or call a friend and they can.
Well,
let
the
you
friend
know
does
that
people They'll walk you down and they'll help you out.
We just need someone to like
Yeah.
escort them around. 'Cause it's, once you get the hang of it.
That's
it's much
Justin to do
easier.
that, cause
Yeah.
she's there.
Yeah.
I did order my tickets for that, like I registered for it, and my confirmation does say at KW Minneapolis or via Zoom.
Okay.
Maybe have it on your phone.
Like-
I just think if you're not super tech.
Yeah.
Like, and you're not really, adjusted to command, that's gonna be really difficult to toggle between the two, is the only thing. Cause even if you have smaller screens and you can't see your whole command or the whole, like, it just might be more difficult. So if it's something you wanna get a ton out of it, I would show up there in person. All right, next. Book club, who is still reading the MREA right now? Or who has read it? 3 people. 4 people, because there was like 10 people that were excited about it. Okay, they just didn't show up today. Awesome. So what we're talking about right now in that book, so we're on, I think, 217, right? 217 to 243. We are not going through those pages today because last week we were going to go through some of the models. And the number one model that we were going to go through was the economic model. And what this portion this week, what we read is actually taking those and putting them into your business and figuring out what are things that are positive and negative that you're going through right now, and then including leverage. But you can't really do any of that stuff without the economic model. Would we all agree on that? Can't really leverage anything if you don't even know what you're doing in regards to appointments, conversion rates, XYZ. So on that note as well, and I know it wasn't on here, business planning is October 4th, I believe. We're gonna be going through this then for next year. What I highly suggest and what I wanted to do today is if anybody wanted to go through this non-hypothetically, that would be fantastic. I've got about 10 minutes before our guest is gonna tell me to get out of here. So if someone would like to go through the economic model with me on their business, or at least just even the end of the year, I'd be happy to do that. Just because I think it's easier than me going through it kind of generically with somebody. Because otherwise you're just kind of guessing in roundabout numbers. Is someone willing to do that with me? I should have asked someone before this meeting. Otherwise I can just hypothetically go through. Would our broker want to do this with me hypothetically?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, all right. You're willing to do this with me? All right, so what is your net income goal? And this doesn't even have to be your real goal, but I think you know this well enough that we can walk through this.
Yeah, let's say it's $100,000.
Awesome. And when you're going through cost of sales, right? So, what are your cost of sales?
My cost of sale is a transaction coordinator, so that's $400 a transaction.
Okay, I'm just gonna add this up as you're doing that. $400 a transaction.
Yeah.
Okay, and how many transactions did you do last year?
15.
Okay, and are you planning on increasing that?
Yep.
To what?
20.
Okay.
You know what? Okay, that's all right. I threw my numbers off, but that's okay. That'll work.
Okay, so you're $8,000 in transaction fees.
Yeah.
Okay, what else? What else is your cost of sales?
My cost of sale is my cap,
And really, cost of sales wouldn't be transaction. That would be more of an operating expense.
except it's only billed during when I have a closing, so it is a.
Okay, if you use it as cost of sales.
And then, the other would be, my cap.
So 16,000.
Yeah, right.
Well, because you have, right. Okay, so 24,000. Hey, Heather, do you want to do the math on all of this for me?
Yeah.
Already has a calculator out.
Does everyone understand the difference
76?
between cost of sale and operating costs?
Yes?
Yep.
No? From this?
Cost of sale only happens when there's a closing, only when there's a sale, that's a cost.
Expenses are all of the other things in your business that can actually be recorded as an expense. Right? Which I would ask your accountant, all the things that can be, because sometimes there's wiggle room. Okay, so operating expenses, what's your operating expenses?
About $30,000.
I just do this wrong?
Just add
30,000?
Yeah.
Okay. Now what does that get us
154.
for his actual gross commission? Do we know the difference between these two? From that math? And this is not like this is a real question, right? Because I think a lot of us come in and we're like, oh, I made $154,000 this year in gross commission, right? Do a lot of us do that? That's what we actually know that comes in. And a lot of us don't know this number until this number is not in there and we don't have $54,000 to spend. Right? I mean, that's a reality. I'm not being mean about this or anything. This is very true for anyone that's a business owner that doesn't think of it this way. Right? And that doesn't include taxes. So, I mean, this number is gonna be even different after that. If you want to add taxes in, that's something, again, I would talk to your accountant or your tax advisor to see where you stand in that, how you're qualifying everything. If you're an LLC, if you're an S corp, that's not something I'm gonna go through with you. That would be something to ask them so that you have a better idea on that. Okay, so this is what your gross commission has to be. Right here, right?
Yeah.
All right, what is your percentage of buyers? Just so that we're faster on this, let's just say that you are 50-50. Let's do that. Okay, so 50% buyers, 50% sellers. Okay, so a lot of times this is not 50-50. I mean, how many of us work primarily with buyers? Okay, how many of us work primarily with sellers? Okay, so if we were to do 50% of this and to get our GCR, so our gross commission, so it's gonna be the 154, what is that? 120.
Just in half.
77?
Yep. 127.
Okay, something.
77.
Because I'm real tired today, okay? So this is our GCI sellers. GCI buyers. Okay? Let's do sellers first. So Kevin, when we're talking about sellers, let's just go into commission, or not even into the commission portion. Let's go into like your average commission.
Average commission,
Yeah, like, what is that?
15,000.
15,000, okay.
Let's go 10,000. Do 10,000. Yeah.
Okay, so if we're going to do 10,000, right? So we'll percent of listing commission. What's your percent of listing commission?
Just 3% you want to say? Is that what
Yeah,
you're?
3%, there you go. I can't see at all the screen, so I'm just.
Okay, so what's the math on that?
On, what do you want to figure out? 3% of 77,000?
Yep.
I think you divide it, Kimi, so then it would be 2,566,000, right?
2 million?
We're looking for volume.
Yes, we're looking for volume.
Yeah, 2,566,666.
666 is the volume, right?
Yes.
Okay, So now, when we take our average sales price, what's your average sales price? For listings.
What's your average sales price?
Yeah, my average sales
We're
price.
going- I'm like, we're
Yeah.
going down the list here.
I just can't see it, sorry, 400,000.
Okay, so 400,000. You wanna do the math for me on that one, Bethany?
Yeah, that's gonna be 7 units.
Okay, so we have 7 units sold.
Is 7 even?
No, it's 6.4, but you
Right,
can't
no,
sell
no.
that.
Right?
Okay, so
That's fine.
this is what's important. We all usually know this, or you can figure this out, right? So we can go into what we did, I think it was 2 weeks ago when we went into like our market stats. You can figure this out usually if you have a history in anything, right? So we can figure out what our average sales price is. This is where it gets really interesting, right? So when we talk about conversion rate, this used to be essentially 100%, maybe like 98% in the last few years. You got a listing, it usually sold. Am I wrong on that or am I right? I mean, it was pretty high. Now, that's gonna be really different. And honestly, when I'm going into this next year, even at the end of the year, I would be incredibly conservative with that, incredibly conservative. Do you wanna know why? One, people are still trying to list pretty high, right? Interest rates are different, so buyers are getting, I mean, we're realizing all this. We're getting price improvements. We're doing things that people are now canceling. I'm not sure if I want to move. I don't know if the motivation was enough. Okay. Conservatively, what would you say your conversion rate will be in the next? I mean, if we were to do it for next year, let's
I
just say
think
that.
75% is what I'm gonna use for mine.
Okay, so 75%. We do the,
10,
so 10.
it's 9.3, but I made a 10.
So does everyone understand why Bethany's going up instead of down? Right, even if it would have been like 9.1 and you would go, normally I'll round down. You have to round up, otherwise you're not gonna hit your goal.
Always round up, always be conservative, always, 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 right?
Still half a house.
So what this means is that you're gonna need 10 listing agreements, 10 listing agreements that go live, right? To actually get 7 sold. That all make sense? Okay, so then if we take that, so we have 10 listing agreements. So every time, let's say you go on 10 appointments, how many times do you get a listing agreement signed?
8 out of 10.
8 out of 10. So that's where it's an 80% conversion rate. That's really high. Right now, like that's actually really high. And the reason for that is people are, one, don't either know their value, right? And people thought it's like, I can just list in this and this and this and this. 2, we aren't used to actual listing presentations, I feel like, because if you came in and you said you could get the house sold, people are like, sell my house. Right? So that's high. If I was anyone that doesn't sell a lot of houses or doesn't actually know that, I would never go this high. I would say you're probably at like 50 to 60, quite honestly, if you don't go on listing appointments that often.
I would say,
To be conservative, you might not, that might not be a real number, but if you want to reach a goal so that you know how many appointments you have to go on, I would go lower.
and just as I do appointments, it's never an appointment unless I present the contract and ask them to sign it, right?
Yep.
On the buy side or the sell side.
13.
Okay, so.
The
He has
other
to
thing
go-
really quick, Amy, if
Yeah.
your conversion is that high, my argument would be you're not going on enough appointments that you're getting rejected. And I struggle with the same thing.
Yep.
Like I cherry pick my stuff and I'm not getting rejected enough.
Well, it's the same thing for me if I'm sitting there recruiting and I'm only recruiting people that I know. And when you can actually say, okay, yesterday I made 85 dials, I had 28 calls and 25 people completely rejected me on those phone calls, like completely rejected. And then 3 set an appointment, right? And out of those 3, there might be 1 that actually signs or might sign in 6 months.
The
But it's a
conversion,
numbers game.
the conversion ratios I've seen Gary Keller use is 60%.
That's what I mean, like, I mean, and again, if you're better than that, awesome, right? That's great. That just means you're gonna end up crushing that goal probably mid-year or, 3/4 of the way through the year. Great, keep going. So that means you need 13 presentations, appointments, 2 people. Okay, I'm not gonna go any further than this because my time's up. And yeah. But this, I highly suggest anyone that hasn't done this before we go to business planning, come make an appointment with me. Because then we can go through this and at least figure out your numbers or where you were or where you can be. So when you go there, you're not trying to figure this out there, right? And we can kind of talk about what this year looks like. Even if you have not been tracking your numbers, we can talk through that to get to these numbers so that you can have an accurate goal setting experience at business planning.
And I can also send you an Excel workbook with everything you need in here, fills it in automatically. It's great. So I have all of that available for us.
Well,
Can I share one more thing?
yeah.
I loved that Kevin knew his numbers and like expenses and everything. So his profit margin, if he's selling $154,000 in GCI and he's taking home $100,000, that's a profit margin of like 65%. That's a great profit margin. The average realtor's profit margin is between 30 and 60. Now, I would also argue that you really don't want your profit margin to be a lot higher than 60 because then that means you're not investing enough back into your business to grow it.
Yeah, and I would say though, it's at the point too, depending on where your units are, where it's like, does he hire someone or does he not? Because, right, he knew exactly what he was using as a transaction coordinator to a certain amount. And then the other things, is he still able to do those, right? So it's knowing and I know he's in that, you know what I mean? Like most people that are at that profit margin are at that point, like, do I hire, do I not? What does it look like? How do I invest in, right? And then you go to the next level.
So Kevin, when are you making your first hire?
So that's the rub, right? My
That's really it, right? Like, it's like,
my profits are very, and my goal, that's not my actual goal. My goal is higher on that. But that's the rub that I'm in right now. Right now, I can live a very easy life. As soon as you hire someone, you're taking on responsibility for yourself and that person. And Gary would argue each time you hire someone, you're gonna see a dip, right? As soon as I hire them, if I hire that person as a employee, my dips, I now have to make up another $55,000 just to be even, right? It's not very hard. You can do it, whatever. And so when you do those big things, you'll see a dip and then it shoots you off to that next growth spot. And then you'll see a dip and shoot you off to the next spot. And so for me, and this is what I have to figure out is, do I want to hire someone to double my income instead of keeping it where it's at? That's the question.
I'd be happy to talk about it.
Yeah, and I mean, I know that there's conversation there, so it's one of those things where you look and go, what do I want out of this experience?
Awesome. All right, you're
We're
up.
gonna move right along. We have Dominic, who is so kind to join us, like really short notice today, so we appreciate you coming in to chat with us. With Fairway Mortgage, and he has a lot of good information he's gonna share with us today, so it's all. Well, then, we want, question, should we grab pizza while and like,
Then they can like not have to, like, then they can eat and listen. Is that okay? Do you guys want to grab pizza and then sit back down? Yes, no? Awesome.
More pizza.
Oh, no, that's not time. Pick up pizza. Good. Did you have it?
No, we talked.
Oh. No, that, I can't figure that out.
Go ahead, start Shane, you go.
I don't know, because I went through the whole PW donation fund and everything.
And normally I would. Your counterfeiter day.
Yeah.
No, it's like, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
It's, I like to do the, when you make your own at home, we'll get like this out or
Oh,
something.
So we had,
With like chicken and just like that.
Yeah.
I know it was a little almost too raw, but that's me.
So here they have cauliflower.
And,
You can get like chicken.
I believe in you, but you heard
Like,
this.
like,
I'm thinking about
like this.
until the end of the day.
Fill it up.
And then about 3 o'clock today, I'll start thinking about tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Actually, I want to get, absolutely.
Slice, because
I'm
I
having a ton of fun.
Yeah.
So I don't
Candle and every eating one slice. If I had one slice, I eat it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I have to tell my husband a lot for the kids for the.
And it's something changed from work earlier that day and you get there. and
That's
it's-
like my,
Isn't it?
it's like my brain.
Open that package, right, and I'm like, I don't want this in my house, and he's like, it's for
But yesterday, I feel like I'm still catching. Up. It was like
An Oreo?
Yeah.
Right, and then
You eat
from the time being.
where you know they're open and you just keep going back to them, I'm like, I'm gonna knock these out to the trash.
Game out.
I'm like, I don't want it in my house.
Told you, yeah.
Just have a pantry next to you.
They respond. That's what I was like.
Anything in there.
Well, yeah.
But the one thing, so like, I needed to get her soccer game and the first one, and like, that's.
I mean,
like,
like,
or two
Oh,
and.
yeah.
That's mine.
Oh,
Yeah,
you're
I
good.
felt it was good.
I can do it, but it's like, and they wrap,
I
like,
need to attend
they
one
wrap
of my
dark
trainings.
chocolate, I'll
Tell
do
you.
things like that. Yeah, I'm like,
Once you do the whole pack.
right?
I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
Done.
But I,
You know what I
A
do?
bunch of trainings. This is good.
Stuff me in the back or.
Have a lot of fun.
Because I know he's not gonna bend over.
I'll find it.
It's safe back there.
The Angela will never find.
You should bend over. Oh. Got it.
Yeah, the only thing that works for me is just.
Get it. I try that in my house either.
Once the floodgates open.
I just switched my insurance to save $2,000 a year. Majority.
I need to. I got a friend from Rockford, he has. All the stuff is like the worst people to work with, like in there. And then the guy went up there and looked at my roof.
We'll be running out to the water
My friend
wherever we
was
are,
like, yeah,
jump in the pool,
You
whatever.
have hail damage.
Yeah. They'll be late.
About it.
Oh, it's
And, the guy that went up there first of all. was like, he's never been on a ladder.
Oh, no.
Trembling, and then he went up there and he never looked around. He's like, yeah, I don't see much there.
I'm not counting that right now. That's not on my goal though. I mean, it is, but it's not.
okay.
We're going to look.
So you,
I walked in.
were you serious?
The Diet Coke.
Back?
There was
Do you have
like-
a Diet?
Oh, Danielle.
And all of a sudden, and all of a sudden, there's accountability.
I woke up and chose
Okay. I'm like, you're like, I'm gonna kill you.
She not usually do that.
Oh, good morning. I don't even know what time it is. I can say good afternoon. Good morning. So first of all, hardly anything today is about me, right? To me, I am here for you. Okay? I have been in the business 26 years last month. So when people are saying, oh, the market's tough, I'm like, really? How many were in the business in 2001? Nobody in the room. Let me tell you, after September 11th, it got very tough, very quick. Okay, anybody who thinks it didn't, it dried up immediately. It's amazing what that can happen in a situation like that. How many were in the business in 07, 08? Only a couple people. Guess what? Those were difficult days. On top of it, if you ever want to come to one of my other trainings or one of my other presentations, typically I'm presenting 2-3 times a month. Well, actually a week, but I'm backing it up to month for fall. I'll talk about why. But I'm out speaking a lot. And I'm going to talk very briefly on this. But 06, I had the opportunity to lay in a hospital bed for 3 months. So imagine being in the business in 06, coming back in June of 07 when I go back to work, and the market had dried up. That was tough, right? Now, for the real estate industry, I'd say this is not as tough as it gets. On the mortgage side, this is as tough as it gets. In 26 years, 40% of mortgage licenses are expected to be not renewed at the end of the year. 40%. Okay? Now, there are some people thriving right now. What I'm going to teach you, first of all, how many people came here to learn how to make more money? Okay, because I hope you're here. I hope you're in this business to make money. Now, so I always say I'm really in it to help people, and the money comes as part of it. But I'll tell you, the money is part of my motivating factor. I'm never going to say it's not. How many people here would like to have less competition for their listings when they want to sign a listing? Right? You would like to not have 5 other realtors you're competing with. We're going to talk a little bit about that today, right? How would you like to have 2 transactions from every client? That make things a little easier based on the numbers we were talking about before. And how would we like that conversion rate to be a little bit better And that seller will take maybe a little less on that home because we are in a more competitive market. I'm happy that we're talking about that, by the way. We are in a little bit more of a competitive market. How many people would like that? Okay. What I'm gonna talk about today, I just had a realtor, and by the way, I always keep people's names and information confidential. I do tell stories about my clients, and I find it's the best way to relate. And this is supposed to be a two-way street. So if I say something, you have a question, raise your hand. I put together an abbreviated presentation today. If I don't get through it, I don't care. I'm more concerned that you walk away with some things that might be of interest to you, that can maybe put more money in your pocket if you decide to work it. I had a realtor get referred to me a few months back. And he decided to actually do what I'm going to talk about today. And he was so happy with the process. In the last 2 weeks, he's came up with 9 leads that I'm speaking to. 9. How many of you would like to have 9 leads in the next couple weeks? Okay. A year and a half ago, I had a female realtor. I don't know why it matters if it's male and female, and I always say female. I have no idea why I say that. So, but anyways, she attended my training on a Friday morning. That afternoon, she picked up a listing because of what I taught. So if you say, well, I'm going to do this tomorrow. You know what I love about the word tomorrow? I've opened up a calendar many times and I never see the word tomorrow in it. So when are we actually going to do it? And this is something that's a problem for all. And by the way, I believe I am a salesperson. I believe you're a salesperson. We all have nice titles. I'm a branch manager of the Edina branch. You're a realtor. At the end of the day, we're out there trying to build a business, right? So the question is, how do we go about that? So today we're going to talk about the HECM for purchase. How many of you are aware of the HECM for purchase? That is correct. And the funny thing is, this has been around for about 15 years. Yet none of you are aware of it. That's why I'm out speaking a lot. And I'll also tell you the numbers. I've been out speaking consistently since May of last year. So we're in what, about 18 months, 17 months, right? We're in September. And in that time, about 1 out of every 20 realtors will do something. But the funny thing is, what I'm speaking to is I talk to realtors all the time that say, we're wondering what this winter is going to look like. We're wondering what spring is going to be like. How many of you are ahead of where you thought you'd be on January 1st? I don't see one hand going up. How many of you thought you're doing exactly what you thought you would be on January 1st? Excellent. So we got 1 or 2 hands. This can fundamentally change your business if you decide to pursue it. And if you do, I'm actually having a training. The problem is I know it's going to conflict with the team meeting, so I got to have the team not throw tomatoes at me. But it's September 20th, 2 weeks from today at noon down in my office in Edina. So I'm sorry about the conflict. You know, I did not know that coming in today. You know, you can always have to come back here and do a training for the group too, right? So how the home equity conversion mortgage loan purchase can help you. It helps convert frustrated buyers that have all but given up into happy homeowners. It helps unrealistic buyers get the home they want, even if it's over their budget. How many people would love to have clients right now that don't care about the interest rate? This is this program. Not caring about the interest rate. By the way, how many of you knew that interest rates went down on Thursday, Friday, right? And did everyone see this skyrocket again yesterday afternoon and today, right? Why do we care about interest rates? Now, everybody in this room is relatively new in the business. How many people bought a home in the 80s? Anyone besides me? Okay, there's 3, 4 of us. I'm going to date myself. I bought a home in 1987, and I paid 10.5% on a 30-year fix, and people congratulated me on that rate. Because we're coming out at 18% mortgage rates. And here we are, we're all like, we don't know if we can find clients because it's 7, 8%, 6%, whatever it's going to be. Who cares? Let's just go find the business. Get more listings showing senior homeowners can sell and buy a dream retirement with no mortgage payments. You do have to pay tax and insurance. We're going to come away today with specific executable ideas with bankable results. We're going to actually talk a little bit about scripting, depending how far we get along. You might say, Dom, senior homeowners, they don't move. You're absolutely incorrect. I got in this business in 1997. Here was what was true in 1997. When the adult children had a child, they moved back to where their parents lived so they could have grandpa and grandma watch the child. Somewhere about 10 to 12 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, our culture shifted. You know what happens now? The grandparents got to move to where that grandchild is, but they're not seeing the grandkid, okay? And this just changed, like I said, the last decade and a half or so. By the way, how many of you pay attention to demographics? Okay, everybody's hand did not go up to talking to me on a regular basis. Because if you're not planning your business on demographics right now, I'm confused. Because people walked into 07, 08, if you looked at the demographics of human population, they would have known what was coming. Right now, we got some great years in the first-time home buyer market, but it's going to drop off. Why? Demographics. Want to know more? Let me know. But today we're not talking about that. We're talking about retirees. So we got about 36% who don't anticipate moving in retirement. Actually, half of them will end up moving for one of two reasons. Physical limitations with the home they're currently in, or financial usually. Now we're going to talk about some other reasons too, like grandchildren, all that fun stuff. 37% have moved to retirement, and 27% have not yet moved but anticipate moving. Okay. Anyone know about how many people are retiring daily in the US right now? Hitting the age 62 in the US. About 11,000 a day right now. Okay. Big market. This is for 62 and older. This is 2.86 trillion of equity out there. I'm going to give you some examples. Deborah's looking to purchase a home for 600,000. Is considering several loan options. She can do a multiple different choices. She can put 20% down, which is 120,000, and she'll have a payment of 2,361 a month. Now, how many people in retirement do you think want a $2,361 a month payment? Not many people. Did you know that only 17% of people 62 or older have, when I say net worth, I'm not talking their real estate. I'm talking stocks, bonds, IRAs, 401ks, life insurance, all that, 100 grand or more. 83% of current 62 or older have less than 100 grand in cash or cash equivalents. Okay, so how do we get that market to happen? Well, you get them in somewhere where they don't have to. Cash purchase, 600 grand. Great, there's two problems with that, right? The first problem is they need 600,000. I just said 83% of the market doesn't have it. Now, maybe they're selling a house and they got 600 to put in the next one. But here's the challenge. And would everyone say that, what, 400, 500 is a pretty typical home right now, right? I mean, back in 19, I wouldn't have said that, but it seems like in today's world, I'm not that far off. I'm going to use the number 500 just for today's example. So if you have a client that's living in a $500,000 home today, and I think I heard earlier that you paid a commission off that 500, right? I'm trying to be funny, by the way. So I always figure 7% when you consider all costs, not just realtor costs, but all costs. So that gets into about 465, right? By the way, yes, I'm really into math. Melanie will tell you that. I'm crazy with math. So 465, if you start showing that client a $465,000 house, how many of them are going to want to move? No. Did you notice the language I use? A $500,000 home means that there is an emotional attachment to that home, right? Now you're showing a $465,000 house, which means less. And most people, when they get to 62, if they have kids, they're still in the teenage home. Everybody knows what I mean by teenage home, right? Big house, might not have the nicest finishes, still a decent house by all means. But this is a large house, right? But it's not the most beautiful finishes. And if you're going into the place that may be the last place you ever live, by the way, I talk about these things regularly. I usually get people to laugh. I'm pretty good at that, trying to get people to laugh about it. But if you're going to the last one, you want the nicest finishes, the nicest property you possibly can have, right? 465 is not getting you there. 465 doesn't even get you into a really nice townhome, correct? I mean, I got a couple of builders I'm working with here. They're in the $700,000 to $800,000 range. So, I mean, just keep that in mind. Cash purchase, what's gonna be the other problem if all that money's not coming from the home that they're selling? Anyone else know what the problem's gonna be with the cash purchase? They're gonna call up their financial advisor to get that money. And their financial advisor is going to explain that they're shortening their years of income that they're going to have off their portfolio by buying it for cash. Does that make sense to everybody? Does all this started ringing true, or do I sound like I'm just crazy up here? I don't know. I see some people nodding, so I got at least part of you listening, right? Then there's the heck of a purchase. They put 327,600 down to take out a 272,400 loan without ever making a mortgage payment. And yes, this is a federal government loan, FHA loans. I just want to be quite clear about this, because some things I talk about today may sound crazy. It's a government program. Government programs don't always make sense. Everyone here sort of agree with me, or am I, it just doesn't. So we look at money in three buckets when it comes to retirement. Everyone here's in your working years, I assume, no matter what the age is, you're still working, making some commission. Some of you have it where it's business income also. You might have an LLC or something. And of course, some people have W-2 wages. You're hoping when you get to retirement that you're going to have some maybe pensions, maybe from a previous position. Obviously, the last I knew that there's no real estate company that pays pensions yet, not that I'm aware of, maybe I'm wrong. Continue work income. A lot of people are deciding to work. That's a whole nother conversation that I have aimed at 62 and older men, because they do a horrendous job at retirement as a group, not every single person, but as a group they do. And Social Security. How many of you believe Social Security is going to continue to exist? No. So I got a question for you. I got a question for you. There's a few hundred people in Washington, D.C., right? Who's the name of the politician that's going to stand in front of the country and say they're getting rid of Social Security? This is a political decision, not a financial one. Right? This is strictly a political decision. I can't think of the politician that will do that. As a matter of fact, I don't think there is a politician. So, Social Security will exist in some format. Unless you believe the federal government's not going to exist. Anyone here believe the federal government's not going to exist? Well, here's the funny thing. When working with this market, occasionally, you know what? I'm sitting down with a couple. What was it?
Oh, nothing.
No, throw that out there.
Oh, I was joking.
Okay. But occasionally, and it's usually the husbands that will say, well, the federal government's going to fall. And they said, oh, yeah, so I wouldn't want a federal government loan. I said, well, you know, if the government falls, there's something else you don't have. And they're like, what's that? You don't own your home anymore. How many of you think about the fact that the only reason you own real estate is because of the federal government? Every country in the world gets to decide if their citizens can own property or not. Many countries you can't. So I always love talking to people about that. And I go, so I'm going to teach you how to win today. I'm going to teach you how to get some money to go spend before that happens, right? Again, I usually get people laughing. Maybe I'm not getting the notes right here today. But so then there is the nest egg, where people put away mutual funds, Social Security. Like I said, 17% have 100 grand or more in there. That's concerning on a lot of levels, but not for today's conversation. That could be annuity payouts, life insurance, cash value. Bucket 3 is the home equity. How many of you have a plan for your home equity? What's your plan for your home equity?
Never sell it until I'm ready to retire.
Okay, and then what are you going to do with the home equity?
Pull it out and buy an investment property.
Okay.
And then he just told him what he's gonna do.
Sounds like a good plan to me. I don't know.
Today.
Reverse mortgage.
It's rare that someone has a plan for their home equity. As a matter of fact, I'm a platinum sponsor of the Minnesota FPA. I have 69 financial advisors who send me referrals on a semi-regular basis on this product. When I ask, there's 650 financial advisors in the organization. I've asked probably 120 of them, what's their plan for their client's home equity? Not one has had an answer. Not one. No one thinks about their home equity. But really all it is a savings account. That's all it is, right? Because if you think about, how many of you are parents in here? about half the room. If you have adult children, I'm not gonna talk when we're still minors, right? I mean, that's a whole different situation. But if you have adult children, they've started their life, and you get a tragic car accident and you're gone, what are they gonna do? They're gonna sell the house. All they see it is a bucket of money. For 99.5% of the time, the adult children sell the home. They do not move in it, they do not keep it. Now, I'm also gonna date myself in a moment. My parents were born in 1912 and 1919. Yes, I said that correctly. Okay? I was raised by Depression era parents. By the way, I was a oops if anyone can't figure that out. So just decided to let you know. But they thought one of us would move into that farmhouse. Do you think any of us live in that farmhouse today? No. We all went on and had our own lives. Me, the youngest, I was in my 40s by the time they passed on. Okay? Yes, they both lived to very, very old ages. Who knows, maybe we'll be around quite a few decades yet. But this is what we're going to talk about today, how to access that home equity. So at age 62, it does vary by age. Why? Because this is based on longevity. Okay? So keep that in mind. And this is all by federal tables. This isn't by lender. This isn't by Dominic, anything like that. At age 62, they need about a 60% down payment, 72, 50%, age 82, 40% down payment. Here's another example. James and Mary, both 65. They want to move into a newly constructed home to retire. Now, obviously, these prices are still from a couple of years ago, right? Let's be quite frank about that. And they can continue to live in their home at 315.6, but they'd like to be in somewhere else. Now, why do you see that? There's stairs here. There's a lot of maintenance on the outside of the home. There's a lot going on there. Okay. Now I started going back out to my clients' homes, and I love going to my clients' homes. The reason is because I want to see what kind of shape they're keeping the home in. Because a lot of people 62 or older are struggling. They're struggling with the decks. They're struggling with the doors. They're struggling with the kitchen cabinets, and you want to see that. Because even in today's market, and by the way, the numbers just came out this morning, I think Kay Schiller was, that we're about 2.9% appreciation for the year. So even in this market, homes are appreciating. But if you don't take care of your home, you can still devalue it and be depreciating. So you want to get to these people. Or they can go move into a new $600,000 home with 315.6 down and no mortgage payments the rest of their life. This loan does not mature to 150 years of age. It's 150. So we're probably in great shape, right? Here's another example, downsizing. Now, by the way, I've been offering this over 8 years. I've only had 2 people that have ever went to a less expensive home. Quite often they go to smaller square footages. They do a lot of things, but it's more expensive. So in this case, she's selling $400,000. She wants to be closer to her kids and grandkids. So she would like to go spend $375,000. But what she does, rather than put all that money in, we're going to assume $375,000 is what she netted from the $400,000. She keeps $202,000 and she only puts the rest of the money in, $273,000. Now there's $202,000 in her checkbook. What did we just do? We moved her from the bottom 83% to the top 17%. We just gave over $100,000 of liquidity, right? Fantastic opportunity. Do you think she's excited? Plus, you got a new home to move into. She's very happy with you. You might get 9 referrals from them in the last 2 weeks. Home equity conversion mortgage basis, 62 or older. We aren't talking about Texas today. No one's licensed here in Texas, are they? Anyone licensed in Wisconsin? I'm just curious. Okay, I'm licensed in Wisconsin, so I do a fair amount of business in Wisconsin. Anyone licensed in Iowa? Do a lot of business in Iowa too. So I am multi-state. Fairway is all 50 states. It does need to be an FHA qualified home. So we know that we have some condo problems in the Twin Cities. We have a separate department that will get condo associations approved. But depending on how fast the association moves, we know that can be a short process or a lengthy one. Must live in the home more than 6 months a year. There are no payments unless you want to make one. Although if you're doing a purchase and you're in that 17%, let's say you got a few $100,000 of tax qualified accounts, I will show you how to save tens of thousands of dollars in federal income taxes using this. Now, that's for an advanced class. I'm happy to go through it deeper there. Minimal credit and income. This is an income-based program. They keep the title of their home. Does not require repayment till last borrower moves out of their home permanently, or obviously it passes away, right? Never own more than the house is worth with FHA mortgage insurance. Now, I'm sure many of you figured out, there's a couple slides that said this. This is what is known as the reverse mortgage, right? And a lot of people go, oh my God, that's terrible. And I always like to say, what's so terrible, right? If I had an hour to speak, that's how I would have started the meeting. Because I have a whole bunch of fun slides there, but I got a half hour, so I'm being very respectful of the time. But here's the thing. This says FHA approved program. It was originally came out under Reagan. People go, well, I'm a damn, I don't like Republicans. That's fine. It was improved in 2015 under Obama. Some people don't like Dems, they like Republicans. I don't care. Both administrations, both parties believe that this is an important part of your assets. So the question is, how will you access this money? Now, here's the beautiful thing. How many of you ever came across someone who's older that has a paid off house but doesn't have enough income to get a mortgage? Imagine if you could offer them a duplex, triplex, or quad. So they sell the house they're currently in. You go have them buy a multi-unit, multi-family. They have no mortgage payment, and now they have 1 to 3 rents coming in each month. The best scenario we ever had, we changed their cash flow by over $5,100 a month, $1,700 aside from a fourplex. Okay, as much as you start thinking, there's some opportunities out here. Manufactured homes, we do them. I'm doing a crazy one out in Colorado right now. Believe it or not, a double wide that's worth $700,000 in Colorado. I don't even ask. The appraisal held it, so it's happening, right? Condos must be FHA approved. HUDs, townhouses. How many of you ran across people who have paid off homes that are in the 700 to 900 range that would like to buy a second home, but really don't have the cash to buy a second home? This is a fantastic way to do it. We just aren't going to use the purchase. Heck, we're going to use the refi. Heck, we're going to take the equity out of this house and go buy that cabin up north or the home in a different state for cash, and then you get the referral fee. But no one likes referral fees in here, I assume. You don't like to collect those, passing them to Arizona or Florida, right? Notice I'm giving you a lot of opportunities on how to make more money, things that you are not thinking about. How many of you are working with clients that are between the ages of 21 and 61? Well, hands should be up, right? Everyone in the room's hands should be up if you're listening. How many times do you ask about their kids?
All the time.
Okay, great. How many times do you ask about their parents? And I'm going to rip on urban areas. So when I'm down in Des Moines teaching, or Iowa, or rural Wisconsin, Grand Rapids, Minnesota, all the other places I go out and speak, do you know they always ask about the parents? But when I get into Rochester, when I get into Minneapolis, St. Paul, Duluth, they don't ask about the parents. There's a demographic issue. And the funny thing is, what's the chance that your client is worried about their parents? Extremely high. Most of them are getting sandwiched. They're trying to raise children, and they're worried about the parents falling downstairs. By the way, it's one of the top 3 leading indicators of death every year for seniors, because they should not be in split levels. They should not have a lot of stairs, or they're worried about them financially. They're going to start writing checks. And yet none of us ask about the parents. Well, very few, not nobody. But very few ask about the parents. Why is that? And we just make the assumption the parents will not move. Is that the assumption we're making? I mean, anyone want to throw out a reason or two why we don't ask about the parents?
Moved away from them for a reason.
And
that's a pretty good reason.
Doesn't mean they're still not worried they're going to have to write a check.
I'm not.
Not everybody's in that situation.
I'm not.
So I'm down to 5 minutes. Like I said, it's had to be very quick today, because usually my presentation's about an hour, and then we do about 15 minutes of Q&A, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have Melanie go around 2 things. One, if this interests you and you want more information, and if you don't want more information, you never want to say, Dom, you're not that funny, I don't ever want to talk to you again. That's okay, I will sleep well at night. 26 years, I work with people who want to work with me. And that doesn't mean that if we have a follow-up conversation that you want to work with me. It just means that this seems interesting enough to you that you think there might be some business opportunities. So I'm always going to pass this around. First of all, if you have a business card, you give her your business card, or you can sign up here, either one. Second of all, if you can think of someone right now who's 62 or older, and you would like to just see what it would look like for them, you're going to use this sheet here. I'm going to pop forward a little bit. And on one side, you're going to see this, the discovery, analysis, discussion, presentation, implementation. Okay, if you have it filled out, you can make sure everyone gets at least one, that'd be great. You fill it out and I will run a proposal for you, yes.
When you're done with this, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Okay, so since this is an FHA program, if they haven't already used their FHA loan, can you still use this or?
You can use FHA as many times as you want in your life.
Oh, okay, got
There's
it.
no limit to using FHA.
And if they sell their house, so I have a client I've talked to about reverse mortgage already, and he said her financial planner's against it, and she probably won't do that. I'm like, okay. But she said also then she wouldn't own her house.
That's not true. I remember I had an earlier slide. No, so first of all, you never bring up the word reverse to them. If you get, when you go out there and they're thinking that they might want to move, and I haven't gotten into all the scripting today, except for a limited time, but when you go out there, if they're interested in moving, you find out, just like you do every listing appointment, what would they like to have to move? Like someone here said earlier at the very beginning, hey, if you could find all these things, I would then move. Well, yeah, find out what it would take to make them move. So maybe you're out there, you're going to say, hey, I'm going to list you for 400. What they show you really know is 600, right? So you show them that and they're going to say, well, understand, I can't buy 600. You just told me all I can sell is for 400. Well, I know a guy with a program called a HECM, and I'm not really sure the details, but are you open-minded enough to learn about it? I think he can get you to that 600,000 mark. If you say anything beyond that, you will not get it. The problem I have with most realtors is they start talking about the mortgage program. And the funny thing is, you don't go out and talk about the 30-year mortgage. You don't talk about the 2-1 buy down, permanent buy downs. You don't talk about prepaids, all the other stuff. But when it comes to this program, a lot of realtors want to start telling them about the program. But no other mortgage do you tell the client about the program. So I'm very confused, right? But that's how you approach it. It's very simple, 3-4 lines. If they're open-minded enough to listen, then either we schedule a group time that we go meet with the client, or we do a Zoom, whatever's best, right? But that's how we make it happen. But if you start telling them about the program, there is zero chance that they will do this, because to give you an idea, that's all I wanted. Oh, there's what I want. Not getting it to blow up. Because here's the thing, there we go. I spend a minimum of a half hour a week in training on this. Okay, I also have to take special classes for this. So when you bring me in, that's fantastic. I love talking to financial advisors. What's the first question when I ask that financial advisor? What's your plan for your client's home equity? And what are they going to say? Oh, I don't know. And that's what every financial advisor has ever said to me. None of them have plans. And then I say, do they have tax qualified accounts? And they say, yeah. How much do they approximately? Don't give me the exact number. And they're going to say 500,000. I'm going to say, okay, they're going to be what, about 25% tax bracket? Yeah. So $125,000 in taxes are going to pay to convert that, right? Yeah. So do you realize I could show this client how to pay $50,000 to $80,000 less in federal income taxes by using the HECM for purchase than paying cash? Why do you want your client to pay 50 to 80 grand more in federal income taxes in their life? Now, where the financial advisor agrees with my statements or not, they're going to start a conversation, right? Because I'm asking questions. Yes.
I imagine on this, that interest compounds until death, right?
That's correct.
Now what, if we're in a 7%, right, for a standard 30-year mortgage, what is that interest compounding on a reverse mortgage?
Right now, the reverse mortgage is running in the sixes. Usually we're going to, but there's about 4 different ways I can structure it, depending which program, which is best for the client. If we want to get the tax deductions, we got to do a line of credit, which is variable. And that is a little better program. But if you're thinking that they're going to end upside down, something like 2008 has to happen for most clients from the end upside down. Usually they will actually, their equity will grow for about 14 to 18, the first 14 to 18 years of the program before it starts to decline. That answer, sir, what you were thinking?
Yes.
It depends on the client and the house price. I wish I could be, but I'm being as specific as I can.
So you're saying if they're in their home 18 years, let's use that, they should bet that home now belongs to the bank.
First of all, nope. In other words, if I start out $200,000 of equity, that number of equity will go up every single year for 14 to 18 years. So after maybe 18 years, I'll now have $260,000 of equity. Now it will start to come down. So the next year, instead of having 260, I might have 255. Then it'll come down to 250. And the bank will never own the home. The adult children will inherit the home upon their death or leaving. This is a family. And then the kids get to decide to sell the home at what price. And if the kids think that they're upside down, I didn't even talk about this piece. Let's say the home has a loan on it for $500,000. Let's say 2008 happens, the home values crash. The home has a loan of $500 and the home's only worth $400. The kids, if they want to take a risk, can buy that home for 95% of $400,000, which means $380,000, and FHA picks up that $120,000 deficit. Can't look at this as common sense. I said that at the beginning, right?
And you asked if Social Security is still gonna be here? Buying houses?
They bought almost every single one of them from 2008 to 2000. They didn't buy them. They paid off deficits from 2008 to 2015 for 7 years. Today, the FHA fund for this has never been larger than it is today. So the likelihood, is it possible? Absolutely. But then they won. I always tell somebody, so if you got $500,000 out and your home's worth $400,000, you know what happened? You won. You got $100,000 from the federal government you never would have had otherwise. So we just put you in a winning scenario. And I know we're at time. Are we still passing that sheet around?
Yeah.
Perfect. If you know somebody, and again, I got my information plastered over everywhere, but after 26 years, I've done something well, right? At least I got my name and contact information everywhere. But if you know somebody who's 62 or older, and by the way, the oldest one we ever did was 98 years of age. The oldest one I ever did personally was 95. So, I mean, don't think that it's out. One quick story, and I know we're at time, so you got to go, I understand. But I had a client, her and her husband, and we knew he was starting to fail back in 2018. And they sold the house they were in, and they were moving into a condo because he was going to be in a wheelchair. So they could get in and out of the condo. I'm sure all of you are much better than me, by the way. I didn't do the best this next thing. I heard that he had passed unexpectedly after about 6 months after moving in. So I sent out a condolences card. I should really make that as a phone call, right? But some days we think we're just too busy. And I'm ripping on myself, not you. I'm sure you all would have made the phone call rather than sent the card. About 3-4 months later, she's calling me up. Well, I'm pretty excited. I'm thinking, well, I wish the condolences right away. And she goes, well, I'm not really calling about that same thing. I'm going to get a referral, right? How many of you would get excited getting a referral, right? And I said, oh, what? Do you know somebody? And she goes, I know. I'm calling about myself. And I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, I never wanted to live in a condo. I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, I don't like condo living. She goes, here's what I want. And I want to make sure I'm going to qualify for it. I want to go buy a home in a first-time home buyer neighborhood where I am that granny who's out doing my garden and the lawn and everything else. She made it through COVID. Today she's 92, still living there. Do not count out the 62 and over market. If you're not asking people what's going on with their parents and going after this market, you're leaving tens of thousands of dollars. And you already know the people who you're one step away from this client base. Any last questions? Okay. You got the sign-up sheet? Yeah. When do we lose that?
I don't know. Awesome. Well, if you have any further questions, I'm sure you can stick around for a little bit afterwards.
Yeah.
Also, wants and needs. Who has new listings, new buyers? And let's give a round of applause. Thank you for keeping. Lots of needs. I know we're over time. Otherwise, send them to Lydia and she can get them out later today. All right.
You're welcome.